Jenna, sorry I didn't catch you, Jenna, I apologize. Okay, I ask everybody to please rise if you're able to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Jenna, could we have roll call, please?
Trustee Gergen?
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey?
Here.
Trustee Belt?
Here.
Trustee Krasovich?
Here.
Trustee Kreiser?
Here.
Trustee Grabowski?
Here.
President Knutson?
Here. Second on tonight's agenda is a public hearing. Public hearing on Resolution 2024-013 to assess for installation of curb and gutter for 2024 road and utility improvement projects. I hereby open up the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak about that particular item?
This is, I'm sorry, ma'am. This is what you were asking for.
This is what you have now?
Yeah.
And that really, I guess, weird. My name is Pam Romick. I live at 219 Orchard Avenue. We've been a resident there since 1998, I guess. I just am a little confused with the letter and everything. I just wanted to know exactly what was the work that's going to be done. I know it's the curb and the gutters, and I know we need something done with the sewers because I'm the home and I have pictures that has the retaining wall up at the top of my land. And every time we have a huge rainfall, years ago, probably 15, maybe more, I think I had the engineer out there to look at it when Pewaukee had that really huge flood. And I always see a waterfall that goes through my backyard. Very pretty, but I don't want it to do that. So I'm worried about the sewer. I mean, if that's getting done, that would be great. And then they talk about replacing the piping because there's clay piping in there, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how is that going to affect our street, the gutters in the sewer system? That is great if we get that replaced. Is it going to be widen the road? Because, you know, there's talk that it's going to be widened. There was talk at one point that we'd have sidewalks on that side. I want to figure out exactly what it's going to do. The graphics that was sent, I tried to read it under a really strong magnifying glass, couldn't read it. I'm just a little confused with the project and the wording on exactly what's going to take place on Orchard Avenue and Lake Street.
Would either of you like to answer that so that she has a better idea?
So the road is going to be completely reconstructed.
And in what form?
So the asphalt pavement that's there today is going to be milled and removed. And then some of the base will be reutilized that's there to try to save some money. But one of the main reasons we're doing this is to relay the water main. So, and the water service will be relayed from the main up to where your curb stop box is, which is like right behind the sidewalk.
Is that where they put the new cap, the main on our lawn last year?
Right, probably. If
So
they
we're gonna
replace your
lose-
curb stop.
So we're gonna lose that much land?
We're not gonna lose any land, it's just relaying the pipe from the water main to your curb stop box, underground pipe. So where the edge, the road is basically gonna remain the same width. So where there's, the edge of the asphalt now is gonna be a curb and gutter is gonna be installed along there to help collect the runoff and then convey it to the storm sewer. I don't know what the retaining wall is that you're talking about.
And pictures, like, it's just, it's flagstone, it's made out of flagstone. I've got a top piece of land, and then we're the second house from the corner, we're the lowest, we've been in that area, we're the low one down, so everything comes our way.
The new curb and gutter is to address the drainage on the street.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then the parking, I also had heard that there's gonna be parking spaces or something more down on Lake Street, and by us, I think you guys had talked about it, so that's not true, none of that. Alright.
Street's gonna look the same, but with pretty curbs
Perfect, and usually,
and new pavement.
yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, alright, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this particular topic? Okay, then I will close the public hearing on that particular item. Item 3 is the approval of the previous meetings of the Special Village Board meeting, August 20th, 2024. Are there any questions, corrections, or comments as to the way it is presented this evening? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Special Village Board meeting dated August 20th, 2024.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Second one is the minutes of the regular village board meeting dated August 20th, 2024. Again, are there any questions, comments, corrections as the way they are presented this evening? And if not, I will look for a motion to approve as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular Village Board meeting dated August 20th, 2024.
Second, Kreiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Again, motion is hereby carried. Both minutes are hereby adopted. Item 4, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment on anything at all this evening? Yes, sir. Come on up.
My name is Matt Tribble, 205 Orchard Avenue, so I'm kind of in the middle of it. I guess I kind of piggyback a little bit of the other questions, more than maybe concerns. We weren't really notified. We didn't really get much information about it. I'm going on like 10 hours of hearing about it, so I'm kind of caught off guard, I guess. So I'm curious as to where it goes after the orchard. Is that going to kind of go into the alley? What does it do for parking? Because parking is always a concern. I think I know. I guess that's about it. Like I said, I don't have much. And all the questions. And like I said, it's a lot of verbiage that I think, when reading it, could be confusing or could be worse yet misleading. And I just want to make sure that if it is what it says it is, if the street isn't expanding, awesome. Parking, I think, is getting worse. I think that is a rising concern. I mean, we got cones, not we, but neighbors are putting cones out to preserve parking spots for their own. Otherwise, especially in the winter, there's no parking. And if we have a heavy snow and it's plowed around, it's even less. So I don't know if that's on the docket. I don't know if that's discussed. I don't know if that's something that's been discussed over the years or whatever. But just something that while we're kind of at it, it's something that I'm kind of scratching the itch, I guess. So any information on that, I guess we're eager to hear. Looking for a little bit of change, I guess, but I don't know if we have the answers. Even as residents on that road, it's a lot of trailers. It's people that park all day long. Obviously, it's a lot of overflow from the beach events and stuff like that, which is good. We want money coming in, but at what cost, right? Is there any other options? Do we have any other parking lots out there that could be expanded a little bit? I don't know. Again, I know that takes money. But again, while we're at it, kind of ideas, kind of what I'm going with right there, because if we are doing that, there was rumors of the alley being done this year, and I don't know if that's even legit or not, but if that is being pushed off to this project. I'm curious as to what that would look like if that ends up, I've heard rumor, so I don't think I have to hear what it's worth, but that could turn into a non-dead end where that road comes all the way around. I don't know if that's legitimate or not, but I guess, while I have this audience in front of me, I thought I'd bring it up. But yeah, the parking is a struggle. I guess that's the reoccurring concern that a lot of us have, is that the residents that live there are getting more tickets and getting more things to deal with, and meanwhile, we're not even able to park in front of our houses. So it's just a concern that I don't know how creative we thought about it, or what other areas throughout the nearby roads we have available to be creative with, but it's growing every year. When we have summer events, it takes over all the lake, all the orchard. And it's just traffic. I mean, we got a lot of little kids running around with their bikes, and we would like to deter a little bit more of the U-turns, Y-turns, 600 feet of backing up a boat trailer, all that type of stuff. So I heard earlier talking about no parking signs. I don't know if that's realistic. It's probably not. But what other convenient means do we have to try to address that? I don't know. Again, I don't have those answers. I just want to kind of voice the concerns that we do have. Again, it's probably, repeated concerns that we've heard throughout the years. But like I said, it's just kind of gradually getting to the point where we can't even park. It's not even a matter of, is it an issue? It's we can't. If the early bird gets a spot, and the early bird has a 45-foot boat trailer behind a Suburban, we don't have any spots left. So I think that's what it's worth. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Pat Roddick, I'm a resident of 219 Orchard Avenue. I'm going to kind of go off of Matt's. It's throughout the years, I was always a quiet rural neighborhood. We could have the children playing outside, crossing from one street to the other side of the street safety. Well, now, starting Saturday mornings, as early as sometimes 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, our street is packed. And it's not the problem that I don't mind the people parking on our road, because we also live near the funeral home too. So if there's services going on there, our sympathy goes out to the families and the friends for that. So of course, park, where you can find a parking spot. But these, like he had spoke about, the trucks, the trailers, the SUVs, we also get a lot of younger crowd, I guess you'd call it. And the sewer, where it's located right at the end of my property, in between my neighbors, I've got this big honeysuckle bush. I always cut it back so that the sewer can be cleaned or whatever, no debris in it. Well, I always find debris from like beer cans, cups from events down at the lake, different stuff. And I'm going to be gross, and I'm going to be honest. There was a condom found. There was a baby diaper found. I mean, it's like we're getting their trash, their litter, and then you pick up after the weekend party. And my main concern really is, he had mentioned about the neighbor putting cones out. The reason the gentleman does that is because he's actually had somebody with a truck and a boat trailer park in front of his driveway, because there was no other space for him to park so that he could hurry down to the lake and, have a good day. But they're taking advantage of it. I think the curbs is a great idea, because that's going to stop people from parking up on by my lawn, because I have a walkway that goes right out to the road, and that's how I enter the front of my house. We can't have company coming over. There's no parking spots. Very limited for that. I mean, and if people do park in front of your house because there is no curbs, they do come up a little bit on your lawn. I've had a stop on the weekend grocery shop. I can't even drop my groceries off at my house. And I actually parked my car in the road, and I had to walk around 5 different houses and walk through their grass to get into my front door to be able to deliver my groceries to my home. I mean, it's kind of a thin line, and I understand you can't put no parking signs. I do get that. But I don't know if there should be like a weight limit or something so that these heavier, bigger vehicles, I don't know. I mean, we never had this problem. It started probably, I'm going to say about 4 years now. It's really progressing, and I know Pewaukee is getting well known. It's bigger. We got a beautiful lake. We've got a lot of beautiful things here in the village. We also, my neighborhood is beautiful too, and I'd like to keep it that way and safe for the children that are upcoming. We raised our children in that neighborhood, the neighborhood was always filled with children. I mean, but with all these big vehicles and different people coming through, and they park them, they leave them, you can't, I don't know who they are. You can't go down and say, hey, who are you? Who's in front of my driveway? You know what I mean? So I don't know what the solution for that could be either. So, I don't know. All I know is the last 4 years, it's getting progressive. You know, I mean, it's starting to become an issue, you know? So if there's anything you guys can think of to help with that, that would be greatly appreciated, you know? Because we don't plan on going anywheres, and I know most of my neighbors don't either. We'd love to stay in our quiet little neighborhood and keep it safe, you know, for everybody. And I'm sure people want to get in and out of their houses, you know, when they need to. So, you know, that's all I have to say on that matter.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
James Cadd, 1088 Quail Court. I apologize, I'm not good at public speaking, but I want to thank the board member trustees that have spoken with me, and more than half of you, and I appreciate the attention. I don't think, as a collective group, you're bad people at all. What you've done with the EMS fee, a despicable, terrible thing. And I've also become relentlessly obsessed with finding knowledge out about these costs and the fees. I've come to, the numbers don't lie. You overcharge the senior collectively between 300 to 500%. And I've shredded Baker Tilly's report. You should ask Baker Tilly for a refund. And you know it. The problem, root problem, is you got bad legal advice and bad accounting advice. These people are very smart people, and they get intimately involved with businesses. Your business is running the business of the village. A lawyer should give you legal advice, not how to run the village. An accountant should give you accounting advice, not how to implement an EMS fee. There's a word in there called non-ad valorem. Matt Stark didn't put that in there. Some lawyer did. They're the only ones that speak in Latin. And I think valorem means value. Ad doesn't mean additional, and probably means about. You didn't want to have this tax or fee, whatever you want to call it, be across the board, so then it would be struck down as an illegal tax. You got the number of single-family units wrong. There's not 1,809 single-family and duplex. That was the baseline of your whole calculation. Every single tax bill in the village was wrong. Not by the single family and the multifamily, not by a lot. Your personal ones were undercharged. Multifamily was overcharged a little. The seniors, 300 to 500%. My property, for instance, was 2% of the calls so far in the last year. Got paid 9% of the budget. Paid it in advance. Had to borrow the money at 8.5% interest. Paid a penalty. Once I realized how wrong the bill was, I didn't want to be party to an accessory to a crime. I refunded my residents. Whether I get that back or not, that's up to you and, unfortunately, the lawyers. But when they get involved, it's all a question of nobody wins, who's going to be the biggest loser. For instance, false alarms. You're still getting charged for that, and the village is getting charged $2,200 for a false alarm. I thought the village and the city had kind of worked out their differences through the past. But then I dug a little deeper. We have 100 here, and the city bases their aggregate billing on 200. The law of averages works out it's spooky how once you get above sample sets of 1,000 or 2,000, the law of averages kicks in. But that doesn't kick in if you have a duplex and it's half empty. That's 50% vacancy. What it boils down to is you stole from the seniors. You're not bad people, but I can't think of any other way to classify it. If you had any moral integrity, you'd scrap this ordinance, refund the remaining seniors, there's only 5 left, and start from scratch. There's no way this ESE ordinance can stand. Mathematically, I've already shredded it to bits. Plus, it creates a disparate treatment of senior citizens, blatant age discrimination. And whether or not it's an illegal tax, that's up to the lawyers to decide, but it will probably follow the same route as the transportation utility. My cell phone is still open to any of you that have any concerns. I want what's best for the village. We weren't contacted. These focus groups that were in tonight's agenda package, I don't think any of the seniors or my residents were ever aware of any of it. I thank you for listening. For those of you that have listened to me, I think all of you want what's best for the village, but you're on the fast track to insolvency, and I could help. Our seniors together could collectively pass or reject almost any referendum that comes up. But I'm still haven't engaged an attorney, and I would love to help you work things out. I have a vested interest, and I have a personal interest in this obsession of mine. My mom took one of those ambulance rides. She died, not because she didn't receive great service, but it's personal. I had an almost life-ending injury 10 days before COVID. Broke 20 bones on the left side of it. Had 2 ambulances come to my house. One of them, I got a bill for $1,500. I crumpled it up, threw it out. But I received great attention from there, the ones that did take me to Aurora, and the one that didn't, my wife followed that to Lake Country Fire. I live right next to Western Lakes Fire Department. Could see it through my window if the trees were gone. They don't service me because of bullcrap political and economic reasons. My house would probably burn down before this service. Mutual aid, something I've learned about. They'd probably get there fast enough, and they would come because fires are only 1% of all the calls. And half of that 1% are for burnt toast. You're trying to lump a lady falling or a dispatch call and a false alarm with those calls. It's just not fair, and it won't stand up under any scrutiny. What would happen? You have to look at the incremental cost of those ambulance calls. What would happen if you took the senior places away and they didn't exist? I think you'd like that because there's an apparent disdain for rental properties and tax-exempt properties. Kirkland Crossing checks all 3 of them. They're tax-exempt, they're rental, and they're seniors. Another property, the owner seems to have a long-standing feud with you guys, and that's Mike Heisey. But I don't think either of you are bad people. I just got caught up in the middle of it. Sorry for rambling, but this is personal for me, and this train is about to leave the station. And once it starts picking up momentum, if you thought I was obsessed about it the last 6 weeks, you haven't seen anything yet. I can be an ally or your worst nightmare. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, we're gonna move on. Item 5, ordinances, we have none. Item 6, resolution, possible action on resolution 2024-013 to assess for installation of curb and gutter for 2024 road and utility improvement projects. I think everyone's had a chance to look these over. Are there any questions, comments from the board as it relates to this particular topic? If there are none, I'll look for a motion. Nobody wants to make a motion?
No, I was just trying to, I'll make a motion. I'm just trying to get my wording here. To approve the final resolution to assess for the assessment for installation of curb and gutter in the 2024 road and utility improvement.
Second, Krasovich.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution 2024-013 is hereby adopted. Old business, item A, discussion and possible action to approve written decision regarding the appeal of Cecilia Senior Homes LLC concerning their fire and EMS fees assessment. Matt, or do I go to this Matt?
I'll take it, Jeff. So this is similar to what we did with the outcome of the Hawthorne Place property. With the conclusion of the hearing on, the fire and EMS assessments for Cecilia Place at the last special board meeting. The board did take action to deny that appeal essentially, and we followed that up with a written decision pursuant to our ordinance, which needs to be provided to the appellants. So staff has compiled the record along with the decision, and we're just asking for board approval at this point. I would just make the note that the action of the board has already been taken in terms of denying or accepting the appeal. This is really just affirming what's already occurred. So, thank you.
Is there any questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the written decision regarding the appeal of Cecilia Senior Homes LLC regarding the fire and EMS fee assessment.
Second, Gergen.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Item B, update from Trustee Rhodey on the Veterans Memorial Project in Kiwanis Village Park. Bob, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jeff. Also want to introduce Sherry Enters is here, who's also on the board of the Bell Tower Memorial. Part of my responsibility is established by the board when we okayed the lease with the Bell Tower Memorial, is that a representative would be on their board. So I'm fulfilling that mission and informing you and keeping you up to date. Some work has been done. Large maple tree was scooped up and moved to a different part of the park. Some electrical work has been done. We're in the situation we're in right now is where estimated costs have met the actual bidding cost. And there was a substantial difference in those two numbers that we're looking at. Approximately a year ago, we were looking at just under $250,000 in cost to complete the project. And unfortunately, when bids came in, the cost ended up being about $325,000, so substantially more. That has resulted in us obviously going back to some of our donors and asking for additional funds, some of which we've been able to recoup. But we still have not met the numbers that we need to do the final signing with the contract with CCI, the developer. What we're looking at right now would be splitting potentially the project into two portions, so phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 would do about 90% of the work, all the landscaping, flagpoles, The brick courtyard would be completed, the path would be completed. The only thing that would not be completed would be the installation of the clock tower, which would be done next year. That's what our goal is this year right now. We'd love it if we had another donor come forward with a large amount of money so that we could complete it, but right now we're looking at a gap of still probably $60,000 to $65,000 that we're dealing with. Is there any questions?
I guess my question is there, you know, obviously you don't want to start projects before funding's in place, but seeing as that we're rolling into a 2025 year now where we're probably going to see cost increases again, are there any contracts or agreements that you guys can get in now to start to try to lock in some of these costs so you don't keep going with?
So our goal right now is to get the funding for phase one, which is 90% of the work.
Okay.
And also a large portion of the cost. So we would be locked in.
Okay.
So we've got, I don't recall what the total gap is right now, Sherry, for phase one project. We still have that amount to raise yet. We would be locked in for those costs. That would actually be completed this year yet.
Okay, cool.
And our goal would be, if everything goes as planned, to actually have a ceremony on Veterans Day in November. That's the goal. And
have goals.
That's what we're striving to do right now. Again, the phase two would be the clock tower would be installed next year sometime.
Thanks for the hard work.
Any other questions?
No. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate
thank you.
the update very much. Okay. Item 8 under new business, discussion and possible action to direct staff to review Chapter 93 of the Village Code, Fire and EMS Protection Fee. Matt, do you want to handle this, or?
Yes, please, President Knudsen. Thank you.
Yep.
So the village has received some questions and concerns. We've certainly heard Mr. Cad before, and I've heard some questions and concerns from board members about this fee. So I think it would be prudent to have staff look it over and review it and see if there's any potential revisions to it that might benefit the village. So what we're looking for at this point is approval for us to review and compile some potential proposed revisions.
And if there's any comments that the board would have as specific direction on what they'd like to see in terms of a revision, that this would be an appropriate time to offer that. So we're looking for direction on how you want us to proceed as well as what we're taking a look at here.
And I'd just like to make a comment that Kelly has been was on the finance committee, or is still on the finance committee, that's working with staff as she was in the past. So I'd like to keep her going and actually get involved with this also as a board member being involved in this. So if staff is okay, I mean, if the board's okay with that, I'd like to keep that going. Yes.
Not regarding that, I had my hand up before you started speaking, so.
I'm sorry.
No, I'll just say, my only direction would be not only from the actual ESC implementation part of it, but if we could also do a cursory audit of the numbers, just because certain residents have voiced concern over the accuracy of our counts. So if we could make sure that that is straight first before we start looking at different scenarios with the ESC appropriation.
Excellent.
Yes, Heather?
Yeah, Matt, I think the other thing that would be of value to the board is an understanding of what other municipalities have been doing. We've heard about what Delafield has done. I think there's probably other examples throughout the state. If we could get an understanding of their approach and their methodology for that also, I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
Heather, you had a comment?
Yeah, and I'd just like to see parity with the decision that we made for Hawthorne Place as to the other senior apartments rather than the senior care homes.
So what you're talking about, though, is a change going forward, because we
Yes.
can't go back and undo what we already did, but in some respects.
Yeah, I think we'd need to see a couple different scenarios. You know.
But just to be clear, the thrust of what we're going to be looking at is the methodology of the ESCs and some of those definitions, right? Okay.
Correct.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. Is there any other comments? Okay, then we're going to move on.
Do we need an action on that?
Oh, yeah.
I think the direction is pretty clear. I know there was some comments as to a board member perhaps working with staff, if you would like to take action as a board to designate a point person trustee to do that, I think that would be appropriate.
Make a motion to approve staff to review Chapter 93 of the Village Code and appoint Trustee Belt as council.
Point person.
Second, Gergen.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Discussion, review, and possible action on approving the village's 2024 strategic plan update. Matt, do you want to handle this, or Heather?
Sure. If we haven't received any trustee feedback, I think that I'm taking that to mean that we all are okay with this. So do we need to make a motion to approve it? I'll make a motion to approve the new strategic plan.
I guess I do have a couple of questions, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Wait, let me get a second here. Do I have a second?
Well, now we want to hear Bob's question.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the discussion comes after the second.
I know,
Yeah.
Robert's.
I'll second the motion.
All right, Bob, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, just Objective 1, Development Strategy 1, number 10, creating pedestrian-friendly walking and biking areas. And again, this is in reference to B2 downtown area. And I'm wondering, what is that in reference to expanding the walking trail from the river to other areas of the village? Or is it actually talking about creating, again, bike lanes on Oakton Avenue and things? The road is narrow enough downtown. There isn't much else we can do. We've got sidewalks on both sides of the street already. I question what we can actually do as far as beyond that, if it's just having to do with the street. If we're talking about the walking trails from the river again, that, yes, I agree with that completely. But I question what biking trails and walking trails along those streets would mean.
I was under the impression that it's what you just said, along the river.
It's more the river? Okay. Is that everybody else's understanding also?
Yeah, can you reference what page you're looking at with that wording? I just want to go to it.
56 of the PDF.
Yeah, thank you.
And what
Yeah,
was that,
I thought during our discussion it was regarding kind of just the area around downtown, not specifically Wisconsin Avenue. That's my recollection.
I think that language is really vague.
I think it was intentionally vague.
Intentionally vague strategic plan language. Kind of counter to the intent of a strategic plan.
Could be because there was we're working on possibly doing some changes to the downtown. We're looking at maybe doing changes and leaving it vague to put it in there that possibly if there is some changes that happens to the downtown, maybe that might be something to be considered, to be added into the changes that there may be made. It's a long way of
Yeah,
saying
well,
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're trying to put together a vision as to what we want for downtown,
Right.
and that could involve more pedestrian-friendly walking paths, bike trails, but we aren't specific as to what that would be. And in general, the vision was like along the river.
Well, that, I believe, because we specifically added like the lakefront and river,
Yeah,
so that it doesn't, you aren't led to believe that it is specifically the lakefront and the downtown street. It is the discussion we had about trying to connect Kep Park to the downtown Village Park to the downtown somehow. So I think it was I agree, I think we did kind of leave it vague, but I also agree that it was almost intentional because it doesn't incorporate the whole downtown lakefront river area opposed to pinpointing specific pedestrian paths or what have you.
Well, interestingly enough, we have two bullets. The first one indicates that we want the downtown and lakefront area to be more pedestrian-friendly, bike or walking paths, less reliant on cars. And then the third to last bullet talks about leveraging lakefront, river, and parks for more walkways, bike paths, and lake access.
we could just remove after, focus on the,
Is there different wording you would like to see in there, Bob, to make it more specific?
You know, I guess more specific would be walking paths.
we,
Oh, you mean like location of walking paths? Or
Well, I don't think we have to be specific, because I think there's been talk about, you know, extending and going across Kep Park and going all the way over to East Wisconsin Avenue, following the river. But I think if we talk river walking paths, would make sense.
what if we were to change it to all groups voiced a desire for the village to focus on redevelopment of the lakefront and river area to : and then there are those four bullet points.
Or what if we just, as Bob mentioned, add river in front of walking paths? So then we don't.
Well,
Do we want to deliver this feedback to Craig, who's the one who requested it, and see if he wants to formulate something, or are we going to boil the ocean here?
Well, because it was for the board to decide, so I would
Except
be.
nobody gave him feedback indicating that they wanted to see any tweaks or changes.
I think it's our baby now, and we can do with it.
Yeah, he already
what we
sent us
want
the,
to.
he already sent us the invoice.
You could change the wording this evening and improve it with those changes. So if you come up with something that you feel more comfortable with, then let's do that, and then we can, if there's no other questions or comments as it relates to the rest of the strategic plan, let's get this one topic taken care of, change the wording, and approve it with the change in wording.
I agree with adding river.
If that's the case, I'm going to have trustee Gergen withdraw her original motion then.
I'll withdraw my original motion.
I withdraw my second then.
Start fresh.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve with the adjustment of adding river in front of walking paths on the insights.
Was that your only change?
That was, I wanted it specific to that.
Okay,
Yeah, and that'd be fine. Yeah.
okay. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second with the change.
Matt?
Did you have something, Matt?
If I could, President Knutson, sorry to muddy the waters a
That's
little bit.
quite all right.
I do have a concern. I promised staff I would forward to the board for consideration. The police chief has some concerns about a couple of the survey questions and some of the text or the prose that came after them. If you turn to page 86 of the PDF of the packet. There were two questions regarding the police force. One was the village should maintain an independent, locally controlled police department. And the vast majority of respondents said strongly agree or agree. And then there was a second question, the village could effectively collaborate with the county for police services. Then there was some analysis, some comments and analysis. The data shows that there is clearly strong support of maintaining our local police department. And then here's the part that the chief has concerns with. But the second statement indicates that the public would be open to exploring ways to collaborate with the county on public safety services. So the chief, and I'm kind of playing messenger here, the chief has concerns that the data doesn't really speak to that analytical comment. And secondly, he's a little concerned about the ambiguous nature of the word collaboration. What does that mean? He would argue that they already collaborate quite a bit, and he's open to more collaboration. But he wouldn't want anybody, once this is adopted and approved and on our website, he wouldn't want anybody to misinterpret that to be about outsourcing the police department.
I don't believe we could change that since that was the specific wording that the citizens answered. Because if we were to change it now, it would be misleading that we would be skewing the results to match whatever we wanted to say.
I agree. And when you look at the other 3 pages of comments about people loving the police department, I think it supports.
Right. And the good news is there's nothing in our strategic plan that's looking at a time where we would potentially be outsourcing services to the county. So it's really neither here nor there. I appreciate the chief's feedback, and perhaps we can take that into consideration when the language for the next strategic plan is developed.
Yeah, we definitely can't change the answer.
Okay, so.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for being the messenger.
That's it.
We're trying to kill the messenger there.
Okay, we have a motion.
My motion stands.
We have a motion and a second with a change. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The strategic plan is hereby adopted. Discussion.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion and possible action on request to advertise for available reserve transfer Class B combo liquor license. Jenna, I guess you're up.
Okay, I'll try and explain this as best as I can, but the attorney might need to help me out a little bit. So as the village's, well, let's back up. On June 2023, the village board purchased a Class B liquor license in the amount of $30,000 from the town of Delafield. The village also approved ordinance 2023-09, which I attached in the packet, which created the process for accepting the applications and determining whether to approve or deny an application based on compliance with the village code, ordinances, comprehensive plan, development plans, and zoning code. There has been a applicant which came for the board last meeting. It is Rosati's. They inquired about the available license. They are interested in applying, but the approval by the village board is needed to publish the notice in the paper for the reserve transfer license. And that needs to be in the paper for 30 days. And they need to submit their application as well as, I believe it's a letter stating on how they would make, I think that area, I'm not quite sure with that one, Matt. What does the letter need to state exactly? Do you know?
I believe the letter needs to respond to certain criteria which is set forth in the ordinance.
Okay.
Speaking to some of the things that you talked about.
Okay.
Consistency with the comp plan, consistency with the ordinances in general, as well as the zoning code.
I do have a question on this one. For our legal counsel.
Yeah.
What did we finally, do you remember what we determined in terms of the power that the board holds over this liquor license, since it's a procured asset opposed to a standard reserve one?
So with this one in particular, you not only purchased this license, you also enacted and adopted this ordinance 23-09, which, I mean, it says as plain as day, you have sole discretion over whether to issue that license or hold it, or continue to hold it. So I don't think it's a property or village, asset question. I mean, you say in your ordinance, you have discretion to do it.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yep.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the advertising of the reserve transfer Class B liquor license.
Second, Kaiser.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I
Yes,
have a
Heather.
question. And I simply don't recall. I remember that other license had been, I believe we denied First Watch. So now, and they never got a license, right? So there could be other people applying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I have a
It's open
question,
to everyone.
and I don't know if you know the answer to this. Does this prospective applicant, they're aware of the price tag for this?
Yes. Yes.
I'd also like to, I asked about what our powers were on it because, you know, we have had in the past when it was our standard licenses with the first come, first serve, where somebody has come and taken one with a business but has not been ready to use said license. I just would like to say to the board that I think we should be taking that same approach with this one because we do have power to make sure that this license will be used immediately once procured. Since this now is officially our last license in the village. So
Okay.
that's just my soapbox piece, sorry. My motion still stands.
Okay, we have a motion. Did we get a motion and a second?
I did second it, yeah.
Okay.
Is that something that we can include in the application for it? Because I noticed in the newspaper ad, it had said a narrative description of how the proposed license will promote economic development in the village of Pewaukee. Are we allowed to say something about their timeline and proposed timelines?
Or approval board dependent, at least, so that they're aware.
If memory serves, I believe the last time we published this, I had worked with the former clerk on some language in a revised publication notice from, because this is the third time go around on this. So I don't know what's in the back here, the proposed, I honestly have not looked at it, but I will.
I
work with-
copy pasted the last time,
All right, I
so
will
it's the
work with
exact
clerk
wording.
because I know there was some concern over the notification of what our ordinance requires in the actual publication notice, so I will work with the clerk to make sure that's clear, including that the board has sole discretion over this.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Discussion and possible action on award of contract for 2024 pavement cracking filling project. Hope everyone's had a chance to look them over. Are there any questions, comments as it relates to this particular item?
So this one, Dave, if you want to, is this the pavement? The crack filling?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a little more complicated than just a simple approval, so if Dave,
Oh, okay.
Dave wants to come up, kind of give the background.
Well, Public Works made it a little bit simpler.
Okay, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So we did spend an extensive, I guess, amount of time talking about this an hour ago. So, and that was the intent though, was to try to spend more time there so that we could maybe spend less time here talking about it. And so, but real quickly, we just bid out the annual crack filling project. We opened bids August 27th, 24. We bid electronically using a program called Quest, which is common with a lot of other consultants and communities. This is the first time that we did it internally here. So within Quest, there's another program called VBid, and that's where the contractors have to upload their bids. So there were two bids, and supporting documents are also uploaded when you enter your bid into the VBid system. And Thunder Road uploaded a bid, and their bid was uploaded properly. PLM uploaded a bid and made a mistake in their VBid entering of their unit prices. However, they uploaded some supporting documents that further clarified what they were intending to do. So they were supposed to enter a lump sum bid for a base bid and 3 alternates. And Thunder Road did that, but PLM kind of changed it. What they put in like $1, or see below here, for example, the base bid, they put in $2.80 for a base bid, whereas Thunder Road put in $25,250. So immediately I knew there was a problem when I opened up the bids. And I called the Quest software company. They really said it's really up to the village to decide how they want to handle this. And so then I contacted our village attorney, explained to him what had happened. He did some research and found that there was some past court precedent that established that supporting bid information that was electronically uploaded should allow PLM Paving's bid to be considered a valid bid. And so the apparent low bid was $37,835 by PLM Paving if the base bid and all three alternates were selected. So there was 5 groups of streets within 4 bid items, and based on the prices of the bids, the village can choose to either award the base bid and either none, 1, 2, or 3 of the alternate bids. The budget for crack filling for this year was $42,500. So the first action requested of the village Public Works and Safety Committee, which we already had done, and the village board, is to review and consider approval of the bid from PLM Paving LLC of Pewaukee to be a legal bid or not. If PLM's bid is determined to be a legal bid, then the second course of action would be the village board to review and consider approval of the PLM bid for the low bid amount of $37,835, which includes the base bid and all 3 ultimate bids. If PLM's bid is not determined not to be a legal bid, then the action of the board is requested to consider approval of the Thunder Road bid.
So what was determined at the Public Works meeting was that the PLM bid was a legitimate bid, and that the Public Works Board not only approved that as a legitimate bid, but then also took action to recommend to the village board of accepting the PLM bid for crack filling. That now gets us all 5 groups under our budget
From a local
from a local company.
company.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve PLM's bid of, is it
So I think what we're going to do though first is, because there are issues with PLM's bid, that's undeniable. So I think there has to be 2 actions. The board has to determine whether or not their bid is acceptable first, and then if that is the case, then approve the awarding of the bid pursuant to the bid amount.
And did we hear that the Public Works Committee did say
Yes.
it was?
Yeah, it was multiple members of our board have made the same error by putting in a per unit price opposed to the lump sum. It was just a clerical, the math still works out. So the Public Works Board did find that it was a legitimate bid, that the supplemental documents provided showed the true amount.
And that was consistent with the attorney's finding that it was reasonable to
What
consider.
I would say is I didn't necessarily make a finding. I guess my comments were more, the board does have discretion to consider an error of this type, not as an automatic disqualifier, but in potentially considering approval of the bid. But it has to acknowledge that an error was made. Is it something that, could lead to fraud or incompetence or something like that? I don't know if that's the case here. It sounds like the board does not believe, and the Public Works Committee decided that that's not the case. So that was really my comments. And I think the important thing here, though, is this wasn't a case where, they put in 280 on their bid and then the bids were opened and after the fact they gave us this information. That didn't occur here. Everything was in the bid. It was just, for simplicity's sake, in the wrong place within the documents.
So I will, well, you didn't
You
actually
can-
make a motion.
you
So
can- you
I
can
will
go
make a
ahead.
motion to approve or to legitimize the PLM bid for crack filling.
Second, Rudy.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried.
Now you're up, Heather.
I'll make a motion to approve PLM's bid for the crack filling.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion is hereby carried. Are there any other motions we need to make on this? Okay. Then we'll go to item E, discussion and possible action on a proposed timeline for the 2025 budget. We'll look to Matt for this because he put this together for us.
Thank you, President Knutson. It's pretty simple what's in front of you for the memo. The training wheels for me and the village board meeting come off at the next one when I'll give an overview. And that'll put us pretty much on track with what the village has done in the past, with reaching a decision point in the second meeting in November where we'll have the public hearing and approval of the budget. The one thing I would ask is that I'm already learning that of staff availability or unavailability. So for example, at our next board meeting, rather than the police chief and the library going, could we have the library and the Parks and Rec going, or being available for questions? Is the board open for some little bit of a change up as folks are available?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
And yeah, we've already had some discussions internally. We're going to try to reduce the number of 45-minute presentations this year. Otherwise, that's about it in terms of introducing this timeline.
Any questions or comments? Okay, and then somebody'd like to make a motion to approve the timeline?
We're just doing these within the normal regular meetings.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the timeline as presented.
Second, Rhodey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Discussion and possible action on staff proposal to rehab well number 6. I understand there's some questions on that. And does the board have any questions or comments as it relates to this particular topic? David, you want to give us a little heads up on this?
Sure. So you may know that we voted to approve a PFAS temporary treatment facility at Well 6, which is behind Pewaukee High School. The contract was bid out, and the contractor is getting ready to start work soon. The well, for the last few months, the village water utility staff have been testing the water and flushing the well, and the iron concentration has been higher than preferred. And talking to Rooker Milky staff and the water surplus staff who provides the PFAS filtration equipment, there could be some issues with the filtration equipment if we would set up the filtration equipment with that and having this high iron content in the water. And this kind of, so we talked to Municipal Well and Pump and requested a quote from them. They initially came to rehab the well, similar to what's going on right now over at Well 2 at the dental office on Capitol Drive. So we got a quote for roughly 200-something thousand to rehab the well. And this was not a budgeted cost item for this year. So we didn't have the money ready to do this work. However, the other thing is that this type of rehab needs to take place prior to the PFAS filtration equipment being set up. Once that's set up, you can't go do a rehab of the well. So Rooker Milky did talk to them in some emails, and Municipal Well and Pump was able to lower their estimate for the maintenance down to $110,000. But this is on the low estimate of what potentially would need to be done. So there's a possibility even could be higher than that. So the PFAS filtration equipment is going to be in place for the next 2 to 3 years. So it'd be best to get this done before that gets set up, because we really can't take it apart after that. So knowing that we don't have the money, I did talk with staff and trying to find some places where we could maybe find this money. I don't know if we've identified a for sure location for the funds yet, because that's kind of the main problem. I'd hate to have you vote on something and we still don't have the money anyways. So he might be able, or I was thinking maybe in our water reserve account, or then Matt did identify maybe another source, it's possible.
We do have some ARPA funds that have not been expended yet.
Two quick questions. Previously, I believe you had said that it might be, that well 6 might be possibly eligible for the Safe Drinking Water Loan Program. And then secondly, if it's lead that's an issue at the well by the school, is there something with lead remediation that we can get with that as well? Because there seem to be quite a few funds in Milwaukee for that.
So this is iron.
Oh, I'm
iron
sorry.
content, not not lead. But that money that we were applying for that safe drinking water loan, maybe forgiveness, was for the PFAS.
So the second part of
Yeah,
fixing this well,
right. So I'm
not the iron. Okay.
aware. In Rooker Milky, I asked them, I was going to talk about these things tonight. They didn't have any further information about other grants available.
Would that still be a consideration since we can't get to the PFAS part until we do this first part? To still utilize the safe drinking water loan? Or is that already
I don't think we can
taken?
use the safe drinking water loan for the iron removal or the well rehabilitation.
But we can't make it safe until
Right.
we renovate the well.
And we have no choice. We have to act on that PFAS. So, seems like a decent use of ARPA funds.
And we wouldn't qualify for the rural water loan fund because we wouldn't be considered rural anymore, right?
I'm not sure which that is referring to.
It would, well, I'll send you the link and you can check it out to see. It was one that was sent out by the league last week.
When are we ever going to get a positive report about our wells?
Well, the good news is, nobody has good news about their wells these days, so it's not a Pewaukee issue, it is a PFAS issue.
Are there any other questions or comments?
So, I'm
What's our
sorry,
action?
how much do we have left in ARPA?
Approximately $390,000.
Well, it seems
I'll
like-
make a motion to approve well, how do we even phrase this, given that we're not sure what the cost is going to be? It sounds like we're all sharing the understanding that this 110 is probably not what the total cost is going to be. So do we approve up
I was
to,
going to say, at what point does that 110 become
I'd go
a
up to
bid?
200,000.
up to
Or they just-
200,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's not to exceed, it's gotta come back to the board, so.
Well, see, the problem that comes into that is, doesn't the ARPA funds have to be allocated by the end of this year?
They have to be allocated but
So
not
we-
spent.
I mean, we can't just allocate 200 and then say this does come in at 110, and then if the work doesn't get done and we don't know that it comes in at 110, we just lost $90,000 of it, don't we?
Well, don't we have, when will this be done?
We hopefully to start on it very soon,
So then we can.
2 to 3 weeks.
Still have time?
Because we can spend a lot of money before the end of the year if we need to.
Dave can help us.
We don't need to spend it, we just need to have it allocated. And we're
Right.
coming into budget season, so that we can consider the use of ARPA funds for some budget items too, if need be.
So I will make a motion to approve the use of up to $200,000 in ARPA funds for the proposed maintenance action on well number 6.
Question on that, are we sure that rehabbing this well is going to solve this issue?
I don't think we're sure about it, no.
Cool.
That seems to be the answer.
And the motion
to
stands.
everything.
Pretty pumped about that. Let's go ahead and get that checkbook. I'll second the motion.
Begrudgingly.
Yes. With hate.
We have a
in my
motion and a
veins.
second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Item G, discussion and possible action on proposed 2024 goals for the village administrator. Bob and I had met with Matt and came up with some of these goals, and then Matt kind of fine-tuned them with Bob. And who wants to take it, Bob or Matt?
Yeah, I guess I can talk. Some of the goals that we had, first of all, Matt being in a period of transition, we didn't want to burden him in the last 4 months of the year and create a bunch of requirements and objectives for him. So we, in talking together, the three of us came up with 3 different topics that we felt were important. Obviously, the management of the village staff and the adjustments that'll take place during the transition were really important. Making sure that the processes and procedures dealing with merit-based pay distribution, performance management, leadership, and things like that were important. We couldn't let up on that. So that was one of the items that we felt strongly about. Obviously, dealing with the negotiations, the contracts, agreements, and litigation that's taking place with various different things, whether it's fire, EMS, transit utility, library agreement, police union contract. Felt those were also very important to stay up on top of. And probably the biggest one we wanted to make sure that he was staying on top of is the budget process. And obviously, he presented his timeline tonight. Again, we did this to bring focus, but not really overburden him during this transition period. And we wanted the village board to essentially take a look at these and see if they're in agreement with those thoughts.
I just have one thing. For number 3, where it's talking about our budget, based on our most recent discussion here about water and how huge this is right now for the village. It could potentially be our biggest expense in the future. I'd like to have that specifically mentioned in here because it's going to be huge.
The water?
We do mention in number
DNR water
3, one of
requirements.
the midpoints, plan for future costs dealing with DNR water requirements.
Yeah, bullet 3.
Are there any other comments or questions? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the 2024 goals?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed 2024 goals for the village administrator.
I'll second it, Kaiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Discussion and possible action on dissemination agent services agreement to provide Robert W. Baird and Company, Inc. authority to submit the annual EMMA report for the village of Pewaukee.
Yep, I'll take it, please, President Knudsen. So this is an annual requirement from the federal government that all public entities disclose their financial conditions so that potential investors can see what risks they face if they purchase bonds or that kind of thing. In the past, I believe Scott used to do it. I have not yet done it, so Cassie and I are recommending that we have help this year from Robert W. Baird. The cost is $1,500, and we can share that with the TIFs since that is part of our financial condition. And when the board discusses my 2025 goals, we should have that I would do that, submit that myself.
Are there any questions or comments?
Makes sense.
Do I have would somebody like to make a proposal?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to allow, enter an agreement with Robert W. Baird and Company to compile and report on the village behalf at a cost of $1,500 per year, plus potential out-of-pocket expenses.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried.
Thank you.
Okay, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Mike Heisey, 1105 Hawthorne Place. I heard earlier that you wanted to pass this on to staff to relook at the ordinance regarding the fire and EMS charges. My suggestion to this board and to staff is to go back to the original way of putting it on, just putting it on the tax rolls. I think fire and EMS is a service to the community, and it should be on the tax rolls and not put on as a separate fee. I think your fee, the way you're doing it, is very confusing, and it's, from what I can see, is illegal. Not only from a discriminatory standpoint, where you're discriminating against elderly, but it's illegal because you're passing this tax on as a fee. And I think the courts have already come down and they've already ruled that your transportation tax is illegal, your fee. And they're going to do the same thing with this. So instead of spending all the legal fees, and I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits if this continues, that you just put it back to where it was. Keep it simple. You know, I know the village is looking for other ways to raise money, but to come up with these gimmicks as fees is the wrong way to do it. There's obviously other ways. And about 3-4 years ago, I remember reading, I don't know if it was a strategic plan, some land use plan, and it said in there, the conclusion came, either you got to raise the tax rolls or you have to merge. Maybe if the village can't find other ways of raising money, it's got to merge. And I think you guys need to really consider this. That's my comment.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment at this time? Yes, sir.
Jim Cadd, 1088 Quail Court. Excuse me. I apologize for my lack of proper grammar or speaking, but the village is in a nosedive in many ways. This ESE is impossible to implement fairly. You can't do a per call basis. You segregated into 7 categories. They were supposed to have one ESE that was comparative to the other ones. The 3 institutional, commercial, and industrial things are totally different animal. They should have had one ESE, the other 2 compared to it. So you really aren't using ESEs in those 3. You're just using square footage. I have to fight this. I had no other option. I have 154,000 reasons to fight it, and I'm willing to spend $500,000 to get this expunged. Your lawyer thinks you can hide behind an untimely request for what's fair. I have lawyers that say otherwise. I don't want to sick them out on you. After learning what I've learned so far, I've learned Chief Bierce of the Pewaukee Fire Department has one of the toughest jobs on the planet. He has to cost is just one factor. Quality and response time are the biggest ones. You can't have a fire department. You could spend 2 million. They're spending 7.5 right now, but you're not going to get the quality that he delivers. And if you compare the Pewaukee Fire Department to the surrounding communities, they're doing very well. I can't believe I'm saying it. I'm in Chief Bierce's side. You know, his job isn't to stop spending. His job is to spend the money he gets wisely. It's your job and the other people's job in the community to tell him no. It's a constant fight. Probably been going on since before biblical times. When you're about to go into closed session and discuss this amongst yourselves, there's nothing stopping you from opening up this hearing to questions in the audience before you do that. And I would love to hear any questions you have before you do so. Not in my 3 minutes, of course. I asked for an open records from Cassie Smith. How does she calculate that $184,000 monthly check she sends to you guys? I know the process from A to Z. You're about to be spending $3 million in 2 years for that. So my bill, by these ridiculous standards, would be $270,000 for 6. If you average this year's out, I might have 24 calls. It's insanity. Do a cost-benefit analysis. The ESE, Delafield doesn't use an ESE really. They did a referendum, they use an ESE, but it's not really mathematically implemented. They put the multifamily and the seniors and institutional at 0.5, the rest of the single families at 1. I would love you to open up and have any of the board members ask me any questions you want before you go into closed session. I appreciate the ones that have spoken to me were very sincere, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else want to make a comment at this time? Okay, then we're going to go into item 10 is closed session. Village Board of the Village of Pewaukee entered a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 1985 1G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically regarding Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, Inc. versus Village of Pewaukee, 22 CV 515, transportation utility fee. I will look for a motion to move into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second, Rhodey.
Roll call vote, please.
Sorry. Trustee Gergen?
Yes.
Trustee Rhodey?
Yes.
Trustee Belt?
Yes.
Trustee Krasovich?
Yes.
Trustee Kreiser?
Yes.
Trustee Grabowski?
Yes.
President Knutson?
Yes, we are moving into closed session. Hey, Matt. Get the map.